Is the leader of the National Party and joins us for his weekly slot. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You heard there the Kiwi at dropping away, which is having that effect of lifting petrol prices. There are a lot of factors at play here. What do you think the government should do?
I think what the government should do is a couple of things, and that's firstly stop the taxes that they're putting on and stop piling on new ones. And then I think also have a real look at the wasteful spending. And I think New Zealanders appreciate that there's a lot of that going on into the billions, but down also to the $1.5 million conferences. And I think if they did that, they'd allow New Zealanders to keep more of their hard-earned taxpayers' money, and that would alleviate the issues we've got going on here. Because as Derek said, and he's absolutely right, the biggest factor in all of this is the taxes at a time, when there's other things going on in relation to the petrol prices. But let's not add to the problem. And we're talking about $200 more on average for New Zealanders that they're paying now in tax that they weren't before the election.
So what would you cancel? Which taxes, which excise imposts would you cancel?
Look, pretty simple. No ifs, no buts. The regional fuel tax would go. That's important because not just Auckland, actually it's being smeared around, and we see councils clamouring to get their hands on that. In relation to excise taxes, I certainly wouldn't be putting them on right now, and I think in a first term we wouldn't have new excise taxes. And I come back to it though, of course it all comes down to what you're spending, and right now I think there's some big flabby spending that could be reined in.
So what would have to go in terms of transport projects if you cancelled a regional fuel tax? Because it's not just being gathered for the fun of it, is it? It's being gathered to actually build transport networks to make cities like Auckland actually livable again.
I don't see that trade-off, and I'll tell you why. Because actually, ultimately, what you've got here is a government that is raking in billions more in the taxes they already have had a big budget where there's a huge number of spends. I think in terms of priorities, infrastructure does deserve it. I just don't think they need to pile on new taxes at the moment if they make sure they're careful with the purse at this current time.
Okay, let's move to your own leadership. Is it under threat at the moment?
No.
Not at all?
No. Look, I think the reality is I'm very focused on what I'm doing. I've got a great team, the best in politics. We are the most popularly supported party, and we're out there actually focusing on the things that Kiwis really care about at the moment. Single biggest issue, I think, in politics today is the petrol prices.
Yeah, and we've had that. That's why we started with respect. Yeah, with respect, we started with that, didn't we? We had a good crack at that. And now I'm talking about your leadership.
Sure.
Did you exercise leadership in the way that you handled Jami-Lee Ross standing aside?
Yes.
Did you make mistakes?
Yes. And I've been really clear on that.
What was the mistake?
Ultimately, with what we've got here...
What was the mistake?
I regret a poor choice of words, but I've learnt my lesson. And so today, I understand this is about personal health matters for Jami-Lee Ross and his privacy. I get that.
Did he make it known that he was displeased with the way that you characterise it, or did any other MP make that clear to you?
No, but look, I'm now not going to characterise or get into conversations or anything else in relation to Jami-Lee Ross, because actually I've learnt my lesson and his privacy is important.
Yeah, but you gave a 16-minute press conference on it, so you can't put that particular bit of toothpaste back into the tube, can you?
And that is there for people to see.
So did any MP express their displeasure about the way that you had used that word embarrassing in relation to his health conditions?
but I come back to it. Be really clear. I'm not now going to get into what are private matters for Jami-Lee Ross.
Why has he had to stand aside?
For personal, private health matters.
Do his constituents need to know more than that when you're in the public eye and you're representing them?
No, I think we've been open and transparent about it. And that's why I did front those issues on Tuesday of last week. And ultimately, they still have a local member of parliament who is going to do some constituency work in the electorate of Botany.
Will he be back this year?
I think, that's a discussion. I don't know, but I think it is a matter of a few months.
Yeah, so he's unlikely to be back in Parliament before what, February?
I think that's potentially likely, but look, as I say, that's something I don't know for sure at this time.
So it could be February before he's back in Parliament.
It could be.
Did he leak your expenses?
They are entirely separate matters. I do not know who leaked them. Jami-Lee Ross has been very clear with me he didn't, and I take him at his word.
So you have asked him whether he leaked your expenses?
Well, obviously we've had discussions, and he's been very clear that he hasn't.
So let's be clear, to use the preface that you start most sentences with nowadays. Politicians seem to. So let's be clear. Have you asked him whether he leaked your expenses?
Well, we've discussed it, and he has been clear to me that he hasn't.
Have you asked him whether he leaked them?
Well, we've had a conversation. I mean, if you want to be semantic about it, I'm not sure exactly how it came up.
I just want to be clear.
But I certainly know that we've had a conversation about it.
So have you asked him whether he leaked your expenses?
Well, we've had a discussion about it.
And what did he say?
He is absolutely categorical that he did not.
He did not. And you believe him?
I take him at his word, absolutely.
So who did?
I don't know.
Are we any closer to knowing?
I hope that we'll have results this week, certainly in the next fortnight, and that will deal with that.
We're going to have a result this week. We're going to know who leaked it.
I'm hopeful I'm hopeful that we will have results this week.
And would that mean that you will know who the leaker is?
Well, I don't know because I haven't seen a report formally or informally,
Yeah. Well,
and we'll
how
deal
are they
with
tracking?
that when we get there.
How are they tracking?
I don't know because actually the truth is, Guyon, I appreciate there's media interest in that and I respect that. But actually my focus isn't this stuff. It is the petrol prices and all these things that I come on these shows to talk about because they are important.
Here's where this all comes together. It was you and your decision to announce an inquiry into this.
Yes.
When Trevor Mallard had dropped it, you are the one who's put this focus on. You started the whodunit thriller, and now when we turn the pages for your thriller, you're saying, well, why are you talking about it?
No, I'm not.
We're talking about it because you set up this whodunit.
I don't think that's what I'm saying at all. I've been open with you about what's going on here. We had a separate matter this week. It's a difficult matter. We accept that. This week, I'm hopeful that we'll deal with the inquiry that is ongoing. I mean, the reasons for it are reasonably straightforward. You're right. The Speaker was going to. He then decided to not. Effectively, it was in a position, I think, of unfairly having a number of MPs speculated about. It was the right thing to do. I think also for the system integrity of Parliament and its systems, but I wouldn't overplay it. It's not what I focus on. I understand what matters to New Zealanders, and that's why National as an opposition is doing well.
Do you regret setting up this inquiry?
No. For the reasons that I've just given.
And what's the good bit about this inquiry?
Well, for the reasons that I've just given, that actually you deal with what you've got to deal with. Sometimes there are important things that you have to work your way through that aren't easy, and this is one of those. I come back to it. I think unfairly there was speculation about members of the National Caucus. It was wrong. The Speaker was going to have the investigation. He was all guns blazing. Then suddenly he wasn't. And secondly, I do think there is a system integrity one. We'll find out this week, but meanwhile, and following that, National will be resolutely focused on the stuff that matters to Kiwis.
And if it comes back and implicates Jami-Lee Ross?
Well, I'm not going to deal with speculation and hypotheticals. The reality is I am not going to prejudge where this goes today.
Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Do appreciate it. National Party leader Simon Bridges. It's 25